Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans and pets, welcome back to the 2021 League of Legends Asia Brawl, brought to you by Trovo.live. If you're watching the stream, have a like, subscribe, and turn that bell on to all notification bells. This is your chance to get your stuff ready. Share the stream with your friends, your grandparents. I don't know why grandparents, but with your family, have them come watch the biggest event in the community yet for the world of League of Legends Wild Rift. Today, we're joined by some special guests. First, it's your favorite guy, AssassinDave. Along with me today are super sexy, yet handsome, yet beautiful, Xcontrol and TJ. How you guys doing?
I thought I was going to be the favorite guy. I'm super upset about that.
Too late.
I don't know how Dave linked those compliments together, but he said yet, so I was expecting them to be something negative, but it was just positive to positive, so thank you, Dave.
Yeah. You got everything all together, you know, so. But today, guys, we have the week 1, day 1 of the group stage. It's the entire tournament will be laid out in total of 6 stages. We're in the stage 1 tournament where we have a group stage and a playoff stage. Group stage, we have 16 teams separated into 4 groups. They're gonna do round robins. So basically, single round robins, by the way. Every team will play against 3 other teams in the best out of 3 fashion. They're only gonna play once. If they finish that game, they're done with that team until playoff, if they are able to make it outside out of the group. Now today, the first game, we have none other than Omega versus Bigetron, 2 powerhouse from the Asia region. All the teams who are invited are the power concentration. I don't know the right word, but yes, we got the best of the best players, the pro players, competitive players, the future official pro players, all in today's tournament. So make sure to stay tuned for all the future games because this is very, very exciting. Now, first game, what are you guys looking forward to for today's band picks?
Oof, well, I think, are we allowed to talk about the bands since we know them?
Yeah, of course, you can talk about the first game, the band already finished.
Thank God. Sure. Thank God Evelyn is banned, because that champion is broken as hell. She is the most ridiculous mid laner in the game right now. She could push wave level 1, invade the jungle buff level 2. Basically, if you don't have a strong jungler, your life is over. So I'm so glad that we're not going to see Evelyn. I mean, she needs to be nerfed into the ground. Interestingly enough, though, Bigetron banned Brawl, which would suggest to me that they're probably looking to take an Alistair early rotation, because Brawl is one of the few champions that actually can do quite well into Alistair at the laning phase. And then Omega banned Gragas and Akali, and I know Dave, I know you'll be really sad that Akali got banned. I'm never sure that Akali warrants a ban. I don't think she's as strong enough to say ban worthy, but Gragas for sure. Gragas is nutty, like he's just so flexible, can be played like Baron lane, mid lane, jungle or support if you have to. So I think the bans are good. I'm just especially happy to see Evelyn banned.
Yeah, what about you, TJ?
I'm basically here as a spectator, because I've been watching some of the tournaments on your channel, but I, in North America, don't get to play the game on low ping yet. So I have my theories. Like, I think Braum is really sick. I agree that Evelyn is very busted. I agree that Akali is super annoying to play against. So far, it's all living up to my expectations, but I'm being careful not to set too many expectations.
Yeah. Well, the first game band pick, as you heard, is already starting, and the bands are being finished. So I just want to lay out all the bands all together so you guys can, all the viewers can have a good idea of exactly what has been banned away. For Bigetron Infinity, they have banned Evelyn and Braum, and Omega Esports banned Gragas and Akali. So they're getting ready to start the pick phase. But before we actually get to watch the pick, I do want to do a big shout out for all of our generous sponsors, without whom this tournament would not be possible. If you're watching the stream, guys, and you're wondering, how is this biggest Wild Rift event happening so quickly? How is happiness coming so sudden? Well, big shout out to Trovo.live. Trovo is a Wild Rift official partner, and Trovo is hosting a variety of tournaments, events for League of Legends Wild Rift. with a bunch of prizes for you to claim, including for this tournament, we have 30,000 WoW Core giveaway throughout the entire tournament. So definitely stay tuned. Do not miss a match. Without Trovo's generous support, the tournament would not be possible. So if you're watching the stream right now, weekly Sunday matches and grand final for Wild Rift Asia Brawl will be streamed on Trovo exclusively. Make sure to use the link and head to Trovo right away. Now, another shout out is to our awesome organizer, host, aka Wild Rift Competitive. Wild Rift Competitive is central place for all things competitive. They host weekly tournaments and events for the community. They also provide an easy way to find scrimmage and recruit for your team. Interest in competitive news? Well, they also provide that and show all the current tournaments going on right now in Wild Rift. So use the social links in description and go to follow Wild Rift Competitive right away. With that, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the band picks already happening right now. So let's go ahead and switch to the picks right away.
I've got gloves here and I'm really cold. Do I put them on or take them off? Scoundrel, this is important.
Keep your gloves on. Keep your gloves on.
Keep my gloves on. Okay.
Do we know which
right now you're watching the Omega Esports perspective, and every time I switch perspectives, I'll let you know.
Cool.
Stronger
so yeah, there was
Arise are over on Omega Esports.
Got it. So as we said, the Brawl Bam suggested an early Alistair rotation. That's what we got. So we got a very early Alistair pick from the Bigetron Esports. I think Alistair is still probably the strongest support in the meta, but Lulu, I've found, has been a pretty solid counter to him in the laning phase. If you know the engage range of the Alistair Headbutt Pulverize combo, and you're just able to get an early harass from level 1 onwards, I think that's a pretty good lane for Omega here. So interested to see these two comps in action, TJ. I think just off the bat right now, I think I prefer the Omega Esports composition. The main reason being is that they just have a beautiful teamfight wombo combo. I mean, when you've been casting League of Legends, obviously, so you kind of have that kind of knowledge of how these kind of comps are going to work. But when you see an Orianna Lulu Misfortune, you're getting wombo combo central when those ultimates come online at level 5. So they've got beautiful potential first dragon fight control. They've got great objective control if they can group up, but they need to group up to make it work.
I'm really interested in the AD carry match as we get into this. So I was curious for your perspective on which AD carries you think are most relevant right now. Because I've been seeing a lot of Misfortune in the games I've watched, but I'm not sure if that's meta.
So Jhin is absolutely the best AD carry in the meta right now, I would say personally, but obviously he wasn't picked here. Misfortune, however, it's much easier to bully a Kai'Sa with Misfortune. In fact, I'd say Misfortune's probably the biggest lane bully AD carry in the game right now. Her double up damage is absolutely ridiculous if you can land it, bouncing off the wave. But what's happened here is we've actually had a lane swap initiated by initiated by Omega. This is something that we saw 16-bit do in the previous tournament that Dave ran, and there is no penalty to switching lanes in Wild Rift compared to League of Legends. A lot of my viewers have, a lot of people that know me from League of Legends. There is a penalty in League of Legends for switching your bot lane to top, because it basically created a very, very awful meta about 5 years ago. TJ, you might be able to help me out on that one. It was a very, very long time ago that we saw that happen. But there's no penalty for doing that in Wild Rift. So if you can, and it works out for you, then absolutely go for the lane swap scenario, because you can potentially get that first tower really early and just make rotations happen on the map. But we have an engage already.
Yeah, that lane swap enables this bot lane to get in on a jungler. Control thought that it was going to be able to contest an early scuttle, have a great time in the river. And guess what? There are two players down here on the dragon side already pinning Mellow behind his turret and being able to lock down early river control.
Ooh, initiation.
Ooh, he maybe overstepped. He overstepped a little bit here too far, TJ.
And the chase down will come through. That's going to be smart. Going down, but a 1-for-1 trade. Over the wall onto Harry. That's an Alistair. Will go down eventually, making it a positive trade for Omega, as they're able to pick up several engagements down here in the river, and that's going to be the turret probably knocked down as well.
It's going to be close. They have a large minion wave to work with here. Looks like we're switching back over to the side of Bigetron, and actually, You know, this is one of the issues with Kai'Sa into a Garen in a 1v1. Like, you've let Kai'Sa go into the 1v1 versus Garen, but Garen actually has a lot of movement speed. He has a lot of burst damage, level 5. If he flashes on you, silences you, then just spins you to death with his ultimate being the execute, you've got to be very careful. This might even be that case right now.
Here. But able to play around the edge using that little dash, the move speed buff, to stay just out of range of the scary spinning Beyblade. And as a result, this lane isn't going nearly as one-sided. You can see that the lane swap with the Garen means that poor Dua can't shove in to the same extent that's happening to his own top laner.
Well, that's the thing. Whenever you go for a lane swap scenario, when you pick your Baron laner, you need to have a Baron laner that is comfortable clearing waves, because obviously when you initiate a lane swap, you're putting yourself at the same, you're potentially putting yourself at the same disadvantage with the 2v1 scenario. That's not what Bigetron have actually done here, but when you make the draft happen, you have to think, I need a Baron laner that's going to comfortably clear waves under tower relatively quickly. So that's kind of what Garen can do. He can just spin on the wave and just clear it for, you know, relatively little knockback.
I want to note two things here. First of all, we did just get, I believe, the beginnings of the lane swap back again. And second of all, Harry, the support for Bigetron, spent this early phase kind of swapped down towards the 2v1 lane. Now he'll show up and remind Tame Apps that it's not nearly so easy to recall behind your own turret.
Yeah, I actually think it was a sensible decision, because when you make a lane swap happen like this, as you saw from what the Lee Sin did in the jungle, you have that huge pressure on the bot side of the map. You're going into a fairly weak first clear jungler. Like, Wukong's first clear is very weak. He gets taken pretty low. And so Lee Sin was looking to exploit that. I think we're going to lose Garen on the bot side of the map here. It looked like there was a huge fight down there. Yeah, we do.
So we also have a Drake tank currently underway. This is Timelapse and the rest of Omega Esports trying to burn it down. And it looks like they'll get that uncontested. So it's a cross-map trade.
That was sensible. As soon as the jungler shows himself on the bottom side of the map, that gives you all of the agency in the world to go for that Drake. And Drakes they're worth a lot in Wild Rift compared to maybe what you're used to from League of Legends. So, we've got another engage here coming through.
It's going to get more complicated. We saw the Wild Growth spent right off the bat on Impressive, which made him impressively large Scoundrel. And as a result, was able to 2v1 kind of in the front lines now. The full rotate has come through. This is 4 members of Omega Esports, all the way over here on the Dragon side.
Yeah, they lose the first turret of the game, so there's a small gold bonus that you get for that. But taking the Drake, uncontested, very important. They return with their own tower in that Dragon lane. So actually, this has been a pretty good start for Omega in this game. I don't think the lane swap worked out the way they wanted it to work out. However, making the swap happen back again as soon as Wukong showed on the bottom side of the map with Ahri immediately for Dragon, because they were already set up for it. It was just really nice play from Omega. So I would say right now advantage lies with Omega, and it's up to Bigetron to start to try and find their way back into this game.
Yeah, and I would like to clarify, as I've been getting my bearings, I think you can tell, we are sitting on various pro players' perspectives here. We don't have a full spectate mode in the game yet. So if we do miss any engagements or anything like that across the map, we're trying our very hardest.
Yes.
Omega so far out ahead, and they're trying to redouble this lead Scoundrel, because we're seeing an engagement here around the Rift Herald. Smart does get that Wild Growth again here on the front lines, and we'll have to flash away for the fight. It doesn't get the mistake, but Smart is here with a beautiful bullet time. Omega will clean up the fight. A devastating triple kill for that Lee Sin.
Oh my gosh, that kick was absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the engage was good, don't get me wrong. Waters over the wall, Wukong into ult. Like, it seemed like a good engage off the back of it. I don't know what the vision control was like for Bigetron in that scenario, but now they're going to lose another tower in the Baron lane here. So it's not looking good as a start for Bigetron. I don't think they have a particularly cohesive composition when it comes to team fights. They're going to be relying a lot on the power of Kai'Sa in the later stages of the game to potentially bring them back into this. Looks like, however,
another skirmish up here on the top side. That was impressive. Still cleaning up kills up top. Another double kill for the Lee Sin in jungle, as Omega Esports get yet more gold in their own pockets.
Yeah, and like we talked about at the start of the game, the Omega Esports roster, their actual composition is designed to wombo combo in team fights. Like it's designed to have either Lee Sin jump in or like someone delivered the ball system for Orianna. Orianna's just dead here. I think she's just dead. Someone delivers the ball for Orianna. They get Lulu ulted, so they get the knock up, they get the extra health. You shockwave on top of them, and then the bullet time comes down on top of that. You can see how devastating that's going to be in like a 4v4 or a 5v5 scenario.
Bigetron trying to get something back over here. The wild growth was spent on the stronger themselves. Just a very big Lulu momentarily to stay safe from nuts as they roamed up from the midline. Up and down are relative. I have to dial back into Arena of Valor. Did Vainglory have the mirrored map thing?
For 5v5, yes. But anyway, I think we've got another fight going on here.
Bullet time will scare back the players underneath the second tower, as the first tower did go down here to Omega. They'll be picking up yet more kills, as this game looks devastating.
Yeah, I mean, you just saw there, like, I'm struggling to see how the Bigetron composition actually approaches a team fight scenario. Like, how does Bigetron...
You didn't tell me we had replays.
We got replays, Dave.
This is
yes,
sick.
sir. We have everything.
Shout out to producer Dave. So really impressive team fight again, and you were talking about the wombo combo potential of Omega, and you're seeing here that even without the full set combos, they just have so many abilities that overlap. We use a phrase in League of Legends esports, we say ease of execution, and I think that's very obviously the advantage that Omega have in any team fight.
This is a very easy comp to execute in. As you said, Garen or Lee Sin runs in. You have the wild growth to back them up. You put the ball on top of them for extra protection, but also for the setup on Shockwave. And then all Miss Fortune needs to do is press her ultimate and aim it in the right direction. And your team fight's already won. But like I said, I don't know how Bigetron I can't feasibly see a way if Bigetron get into a 5v5 where they win. That's the problem. Like
not now anyway.
No, but even before that, you needed to snowball off the Ahri roams, I think. Like, Wukong and Ahri needed to have the games of their life to actually even get to a point where the team fight was relevant for you. Because, even Olaf, like, all he can do is just run at you, and if he's just going to run straight through a bullet time, which is never good for him. Got another fight opening up here, though, TJ?
Deep dive from the Garen. There will be a threat momentarily onto Time-Elapse, which is a very important pick if they can get it knocked into GA, but... I think Time-Elapse will be back up, and BMLC is right here on the front lines with a rise behind from the back lines. Time-Elapse will finally go down, and in that time, while all the focus has been diving from Bigetron forward onto a Misfortune, the rest of the Omega Esports team were able to clean up the fight.
Exactly. You kind of hit the nail on the head there. Whilst they did a 3-man dive onto this Misfortune, as you can see back here, like, I mean, if you just watch Tay-Maps on the back line, 3 people going to dive on him, the Alistair, the Olaf, and the Wukong. Well, Kai'Sa's by herself. She's dead already. And then Ahri's being chased out of the fight, and then it just takes the rest of the Infinity or Omega lineup to come back and refocus the back of the fight and take out the rest of the members. So that was just, again, they really just had complete... like bull red eye vision for the Misfortune, and unfortunately they didn't realize that the rest of their team was getting completely obliterated on the back line. And I think that if the Kai'Sa is not in...
Sorry, I was going to say, to be fair, I think it is the right call to focus Time-Elapse, as we do see another skirmish there on the top side. Getting rid of the Misfortune bullet time in these fights, as we were talking about, is super important. It's just that that's not the only threat anymore.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but also my perspective would be that actually I think it's much more important to try and create space for your Kai'Sa. The only person that is going to carry you in this game, if you have any hope in hell, the only person that's going to carry you in this game is a Kai'Sa who is incredibly fed and has protection. So my alternative viewpoint would be that actually what you should do is try and expend everything to kite for this Kai'Sa and get her as much gold as physically possible, because she is the only person that is going to get you through the late game here. She is the only person.
Bigetron with finally a little bit of a wombo combo. Oh my lord, the shockwave. That's going to get very dangerous for Bigetron. A 3v1 has just spiraled out of control. Impressive shuts down the kill behind the turret. They may be able to get a 1-for-1 trade here, knocked into the GA. Is the player pushing into the bush, but that is going to be all they get. Smart is able to turn the fight a massive team fight for Omega. There's not even a 3v1 goes Bigetron's way.
And a beautiful timing on the Guardian Angel here. And I think at this point, it feels like Omega in complete control. Looks like they're going to take a really, really sensible path. Oh, we've got another fight opening up.
Oh, bullet time. I saw it already. It just lays
Oh my
into the
God.
entire team. And Tamelapse does so much damage for Omega. Harry will be kiting forward, does have decent CC, but there's nothing to follow it up anymore. And as a result, it is going to be Bigetron losing yet another critical fight here around the Drake. I don't see a way back into this. We've been saying that for a while, but I think it's time to start talking about the next game. Is there, X-Scoundrel, as this Nexus is taken, a different draft strategy that you think will change this outcome?
Yes, I think there is, mate. I think, unfortunately, that what you drafted, you needed to be lane dominant. And I think that's why the Omega Esports, the way they executed the early game kind of shut down the entire point of the Bigetron Esports roster, because basically the lane swap meant that Olaf couldn't be lane dominant, couldn't get rolling. You shut the Wukong down early. You didn't have the 2v2 where the Alistair and the Kai'Sa could potentially find openings post level 5. All of that went out the window. So the laning phase, where I would think that Bigetron needed to get ahead, was just shut down by the lane swap. And that was just a really, really intelligent play, I think, from Omega.
You were talking about how important the Kai'Sa had to be, and by the point that the Kai'Sa should have been online and winning team fights, Dua had already been knocked out of the game entirely. And of course, impressive, I think, is easily the MVP. Dave, do we have the power to give MVPs?
Of course. I just want to say though, when you're watching different players' perspective, they were a little bit confusing because the players have different delays. We're trying to settle that where the players don't have any delays, so synced, and we can see different players' perspective. That's why it's a little bit chaotic.
Did we catch that last fight twice? Is that what happened?
No, you caught the fight once, but it basically when I switched back to Omega, there was another fight happen because they're so far ahead. The other ones were.
I think we skipped like 30 seconds into the future or something like that.
Forward in time. I was trying to work out how it had happened. Producer Dave is warping the fabric of space-time.
But don't worry.
It's not only producer Dave. It's analyst Dave as well. I'd love to hear Dave's thoughts on this game.
Well, I personally love Misfortune as a pick. It's heavily used in high rank competitive in all the C regions and in I think all the regions across the world. Once you get, because it's all about lane bullying and rotate ahead of your enemy. If you can press your lane, then it's very, very good. And that's exactly what Omega Esports picked. They have Lee Sin, which is really strong early game. They have a lane bully like Orianna, lane bully like Misfortune. So I think they're on draft wise, they just have a really good, strong early game presence, and they snowball with it.
I was really impressed by the way Impressive was playing the match, and I want to call that out because it's very difficult from our perspective to catch macro play, but Impressive as a jungler was putting out a very, very strong jungle performance just in terms of being present in the fights, leading his team towards objectives.
I actually just think that the overall macro play from Omega was just super good this game. Like I praised 16-bit in Dave's previous tournament because they just out macroed they just out macroed every game that they played. I actually think when you look at individual skill, Aether Rift probably had the more individually skilled players, but they just weren't up to the macro level that 16-bit were putting out as a team. So the macro from Omega this game was really strong. And again, I love lane swaps. And because there's really no disadvantage for doing it in Wild Rift, it can really throw a spanner in the works of your composition if you have to play into a lane swap. And I think Omega did a good job there.
Well, overall, I mean, what do y'all think that Bigetron need to do next game? You would have a better chance.
I think we both agreed draft a composition that doesn't get bullied out of the game in the first 5 minutes. But I also want to see a little bit more presence around objectives. It's kind of hard to keep track of vision because we don't have a spectator mode yet. But I was noticing that they very rarely had warding at or around the Drakes, at or around the Rift Heralds during the critical early game fights where they needed to win it. I think the only exception was that hop over the wall that they tried to turn into a team fight down by the Baron lane.
I think personally I want to see a stronger jungler. If you're gonna have a Lee Sin, you need to have a jungler that is capable of keeping pace, and Wukong's not capable of keeping pace with the Lee Sin. Lee Sin's let's be honest, Lee Sin is just the best jungler in the game by far. I think there are a few junglers that come close. I would say Shyvana is probably the jungler that likely comes closest to Lee Sin in terms of keeping pace on the game. It also gives you really good objective control, which is super important in Wild Rift. So I think if you're going to go into a Lee Sin, you have to be really confident that your jungler is going to be able to at least keep pace with the Lee Sin. So I'd like to see that. And I agree. I think the prio on Alistar is great, but when lane swaps exist, Alistar becomes a little less useful. So maybe, or if you're going to pick Alistar, then set up for a tower dive. Like don't rotate Alistar into the lane with the Olaf. You've just got two melees into a ranged matchup. Then like two ranged Lulu and Misfortune into Alistar Olaf. You're going to lose that anyway. Keep Alistar with Kai'Sa. Maybe try and dive the Garen under the tower. Like you have some options that way. I just think that maybe you shouldn't have rotated the Alistar early.
So awesome, guys. I think that will conclude our game 1, and we're stepping into game 2. Both teams are getting ready, and this time we'll make sure that we have more of a sync. So when we watch a different team's perspective, it's less confusing for our audience. Like that, we are
less time travel.
Yeah, less time travel, exactly. So it's good for your brain that way. Anyways, guys, if you're watching a tournament, this entire Wild Rift Asia Brawl is sponsored by Trovo.live. They're a Wild Rift's official partner, and Trovo is hosting a lot of tournaments for Wild Rift entire community. If you look for future tournaments for EU, for Seed, or signing different teams, I think Noah just signed on Trovo.live as well. So you definitely want to check out their actions on the platform. Make sure to use the link to go watch Trovo, and we're going to do giveaways weekly for the tournament. So with that, guys, we're going to take a short 5-minute breaks for teams to get ready, and we'll see you guys in a little bit.